Hello everyone, this is Just a Dad. So today I'm going to do a video on how to buy a robot vacuum cleaner. Have you ever wanted to buy a robot vacuum cleaner and you don't even know where to start? This is the video for you. Now it may be a little on the long side, but I'm going to start at the very basics. I've been reviewing robot vacuum cleaners for now over 2.5 years. This is my full-time job. I buy these robots with my own money, and I'm going to demystify how to buy a robot vacuum cleaner for you. Now, right now is Amazon Prime Days, July 8th through the 11th. There's no better time to buy a robot vacuum cleaner than right now. These deals are amazing. These are my too good to pass ups, which I'm going to talk about. But before we get here, let's start with the very basic. Again, I buy these robots with my own money, and I'm not paid for this video. I'm going to talk about all kinds of brands, and I use links. So I have a website called justadadapproved.com where you can see all my robots that I approve of, and you can see what the Amazon Prime deals that I approve of. Justadadapproved.com. And in there, if you click on the product, it's going to take you to Amazon. If you end up purchasing the product, I get a small commission from that sale. It's a way of helping support my channel. That way I can do these videos. Now, when you end up purchasing a product, I have the setup video, I have the unboxing, I have the first cleaning, I have the how to do all the maintenance after you've had it a while, and I'll compare. So say you're like, oh, I maybe like this one. I probably have the comparison that compare the top major brands. So you can search for Just a Dad and whatever name that you're wanting. So say it's Just a Dad Roborock Q10X5. If you search that in Google or on YouTube, it hopefully will bring up my video where you can watch. I have over 6,000 videos on YouTube, so finding the video can be a little hard, but if you search Just a Dad and Roborock Q10X5 or whatever you want, it should pop up for you. So let's get started. I've got to take a deep breath because I have done so many robot vacuum cleaner reviews that it's easy for me to talk really fast. And again, I want to come from a standpoint of, I don't know what to do. I want a robot vacuum cleaner. We are to a point now where robot vacuum cleaners can actually do a great job of cleaning your house, and it's going to have very little interaction with you. There's several different price points. Don't be intimidated by a large price point thinking it's going to be more complicated. That's not the case. In fact, some of the cheaper ones are more complicated than the more expensive ones. But I have to start with a little bit of a history, because when I talk to people, people ask me what I do, and I say I review robot vacuum cleaners. And the first thing they say is, oh, you review Roombas. I had one and it bounces off and on the walls. Okay, yes, I do, but robot vacuum cleaners have come so far. So while that technology still exists, it is not what I recommend, and you can have such less, because those were very frustrating in my opinion. Get stuck, bounce off walls, end up wherever. Just things have come so much farther. So I will show you the bounce technology, but I'm not recommending that right now. Okay, here we have one of the earliest robots. This is the eufy 11S. They still sell like 6,000 of these a month. Doesn't require Wi-Fi. Now the ones I'm going to show you, most of them do require Wi-Fi. But this one it just vacuums until it hits something. The bumper activates and it turns around. It goes in a random pattern. That's where the original Roombas were. While that's called a random cleaning pattern, it does an okay job. But in my opinion, we've come so far. While these still have a place with no Wi-Fi, I guess. But I really don't spend a lot of time on these because I'm more interested in controlling the robot with an app on my phone or buttons on the robot, and it doing a better job of navigating and avoiding things. So the bounce technology, like the Roomba 692 and all of those, now Roomba heavily markets. They have a lot of people associate robot vacuum cleaners with Roomba. I have to talk about Roomba. It's not one that I highly recommend. Now, thankfully, just this year, they came out with a whole new lineup. They're okay. And what's the one thing they added? They added Lidar navigation, which I'm going to talk about. Their older robots don't have Lidar navigation. And in my opinion, they're not a buy. And the app that you use is very old. So the Roomba Essentials is going to be heavily marketed with a mopping pad, all of that. It's definitely a pass. And you'll learn more as we learn in this video. Same with the Roomba i5, i3, with a mopping pad attachment, with a self-emptying dock. Just pass. Okay, so I got to remember to slow down. The person that's watching this video could have no idea about robot vacuum cleaners. So here's a starting point that I want you to start with. First off, they should have Lidar navigation. So robots, how they navigate your house, there's a spinning Lidar on top here. And there's a little thing that's spinning in there and it's bouncing a signal off of their walls. And it's going to create a map of your house. And then the robot can follow that map and do different things. That is super important in my opinion. Now, the second question I get is, which robot has the best suction, does all of this? Well, a robot could have the best suction in the world, but if its user interface is not very good, you're going to have frustration, and then you're not going to get the most out of it. So in my opinion, after reviewing these robots, it's user interface. Now, with the robots that I'm going to be talking about, it's an app. So you're going to download an app. They're free. You're going to create a username and a password like the Roborock, the Dream, the Eufy, the Mova. Those are all very, very good apps because it's a good user experience. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to download the app. After you buy your robot, you have to give it an email address and a password, and you log in. I haven't had any problems with that. And now you're going to connect that app on your phone or tablet to the robot. And that app is going to essentially control the robot. And that little connection right there is huge in my opinion. Because the early Roombas, when they've got some J7s and J9s, their app and how it connected with the robot, lots of frustration. There are cheaper companies that I've purchased, iHome, and there's all kinds of different companies that have their own app. And the app is kind of like, is this a good app? Is it not? I'm kind of having a bad user experience. So you should be able to have a good user experience with the app. That has to start number one. Some of them are more complicated than others. And I have videos on my recommended settings on all the robots that I'm going to recommend. And if you follow my video, I'll show you how to unbox it, put it together. I show you exactly how to connect it to your phone. And then we go through and do all the different settings. So user interface, very, very important. And it's going to connect. The robot has to have Wi-Fi in your house. The ones that I'm recommending, just because you have such increased usability of it with Wi-Fi. They only work on 2.4 gigahertz. There's some oddballs that work off 5, but I'm only going to be talking about 2.4 gigahertz. You have to give it your Wi-Fi and your Wi-Fi password. Now, this Lidar technology, you're going to connect it to your phone. You're going to tell it to map your house because it can't really do anything until it maps your house. Now, it's going to go around a random pattern in your house. It's going to create a map of your house. That's the second thing. Some robots don't create very good maps. Shark does an okay job. The early Roombas, not so good. The new Roombas have Lidar navigation. So Lidar navigation is absolutely like the gold standard on robot vacuum cleaners. Some of the more expensive ones are coming out with something called Starsight. That's getting into $1,300 robots, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But for 99% of the robots we're going to be dealing with, Lidar navigation. Now you may see it on top. That's the most commonplace right here. You know, a year ago, I wouldn't even buy a robot unless I saw this in the picture because I knew that was Lidar navigation. Now Eufy has come out with some they got some front facing Lidar, but this thing is spinning on the inside all the time. And when you have front facing Lidar, the robot has to do a 360. So every once in a while, this Eufy C20 does a 360 to kind of mimic how the spinning Lidar. So while that gives it a thinner profile. Now, so we got Lidar navigation out of the way. And because of Lidar navigation, it's going to divide up your house into different rooms. You've got a map that you can go in and edit. You can make the room exactly how you want it. And then the next biggest thing is no-go zone. So once you have Lidar navigation, mapping your house, there's going to be areas where robots just have a problem. computer cables that are cords that are on the ground. These cheaper ones are always going to get stuck on them, even if they have LiDAR navigation. Even the more expensive ones struggle with those. So putting a no-go zone, that's an area in the map and it's all on your phone. You can say the robot just stay away. It's not going to clean there, but at least it's not going to get stuck. So that's and that all comes from LiDAR, mapping, and a good user interface. So some robots will, like the Eufy and a lot of the more expensive ones, they will vacuum and mop your floor at the same time, or you could have it just vacuum or just mop. So the kind of the entry level is just vacuum. So LiDAR navigation, Shark's real good at this. They have LiDAR navigation. They just vacuum. They have a side brush. And so it's going to go around your house. It's going to do a really good job of vacuuming. Now, they come in all different suction powers. And I don't do extensive testing by hooking up gauges. I use them for 3 months. I cut the dust bag open. It's full. They've been doing a good job cleaning my house. That's where I go from. Now, the lower suction ones are not going to do as good a job as the higher suction ones, but here's the nice thing about this robot. You can have it be cleaning multiple times a week. You know, it could be bothering you, but if it's got low suction power, well, then just have it clean twice as much or something. Now, here's the next step. If it's just a vacuum, it's either going to have a base station. Okay, so I'm not going to talk a lot about brands right now. We're going to talk about kind of like the features. So we talked about the robots that vacuum your house. Now, they either may come, now we're going to get into docking stations. So the docking station may be a simple docking station where these are charging points. So it's going to vacuum your house, come back and charge. If it needs to vacuum more, it'll go back and after it's charged and do that. But otherwise, it just keeps it charged, ready to go for next time. When it has this, you're going to be responsible for taking the dustbin over to the trash can. Now, you don't have to do it every time, but you'll have to take it over to the trash can, open up some door, like this one's take the filter out and empty everything out. So it's kind of a pain, but you can save some money. The entry level that I recommend is LiDAR navigation with auto empty dustbin. You end up spending usually, and these manufacturers will have models that have with and without dustbin. It's like $80 more, $100 more. So the robot's going to vacuum your house, come back to the base station, and the dustbin is designed in a way that everything's going to suck up and go into the dustbin. And then it's going to come back to this, and there's another vacuum. Inside here, there's another vacuum's going to kick on, and there's a little trap door right here, and it's going to suck everything out into a dust bag. And this is awesome. Now, you will have to replace the dust bag once in a while. And about every 2 to 3 months, depending on how much it's cleaning your house. I recommend dust bags. Now, there's a lot of debate, not a lot of debate, but I get a lot of questions on, I want bagless, because everybody fears they're going to stop making this bag and then this will be obsolete. Now, that could be true for some of the brands that these brands that just pop up for a year and then they're done. That's why I've kind of stuck with the major brands, Roborock, Dream, Mova, Eufy, even the Roombas, the newer ones, their dust bags hopefully are going to be around a while. Now, we're starting to get into like these Roborock, Dream, Mova, Eufy. These are major brands and other people are making third-party bags. So even if Mova stops making a bag, there should be a third party making it. But that is a worry. And that's kind of why I lean towards these major brands, because I think they're going to be making the bags. And what I have found, and you're going to see, is when they try to carry that bag to their next model, so that, okay, they're going to definitely be making those bags because the newer models are using the same as the old models. So the bags are super easy to change. You just lift them out, no mess, throw it away, and you slide a new bag in. Shark makes bagless. Here we have a Shark robot. It has LiDAR navigation. It's going to vacuum your house, come back, and the base station is going to suck everything out of the dustbin. Now, it is bagless. You take this over to the trash can, you open it up, and you empty everything out. you do have to clean these filters, but you can see it does get dusty when you open it up sometimes. But the filter, so there's a filter in here, and cleaning this, it is reusable. So you have to wash it in the sink and let it dry. It's extremely dirty. So while it is bagless, there's going to be more work. I just love bags. That way, throw it away, put a new one in, and you're ready to go. Okay, so we've established Lidar navigation, has a dustbin, vacuums your house, comes back, auto empties into a bag or bagless. Now, let's talk a little bit more about the robot. Side brushes, they're advancing the technology. With anti-tangle. So some of the cheaper robots and even the older ones, like major brands like Roborock, long hairs, the early technology, it would wrap around the brush roller here or the side brush, kind of get entangled. You know, then you're kind of having to cut the hairs off, and it does prevent it from cleaning very well sometimes. So what you're going to see is robot manufacturers are starting to come up with anti-long hair, something to help with long hair. So, but the cheaper ones and the earlier models don't have a lot of that. So they have brush rollers. Now you may have one or two. I don't necessarily think that's a big deal. Where you get into the big deal is when they have a split brush roller, and that's a more expensive robot, $1,100 robot. But there are $500 robots that have this duo divide where the brush roller is two pieces. The long hairs don't wrap around the brush roller, because if it's one piece, and once the hair starts wrapping around, it doesn't have anywhere to go but to wrap around. Here, it gets directed to the middle and gets sucked in. This technology, and it comes in a couple different forms, actually works very, very well, but it's more expensive. So with these, you're gonna be doing some maintenance. They typically, this is for most robot vacuum cleaners, they have you're going to be taking the brush roller out, and you're going to be cutting the long hairs off of it if you have a bunch of long hairs. They do things to kind of help mitigate some of that stuff. Some of the ones have fins that direct it to the end, and then you just pull them off the end. Some of the robots have combs. This comb actually does a pretty good job. Some have nothing at all. And you just get long, like the new Roombas 104 and 405, they don't have anything. You just get long hair wraps. So these are going to be the drive wheels. Typically, I don't have any problem with the drive wheels. This wheel spins free. Fall-offs, cliff sensors, fall-off sensors. There's these little glass windows on the sides here. Now, you could, in theory, I'm on this table, I could press clean, and the robot would clean this table and not fall down. Because when it gets to an edge, that sensor, I don't know exactly how it works, but that sensor senses a cliff, and it's not like your stairs. That's how these, and most, except the bumper ones, even they did too, yeah. But most of the ones that I'm gonna recommend, or all the ones that I recommend, have cliff sensors. They're not gonna fall down your stairs. So robots will not fall down your stairs, but these sensors need cleaned about every 30 hours. They're little glass windows. You just wipe them off. You can just use your fingers. Now, let's talk about earlier models had the bumper on the front, and it would just randomly go around your house, bump into something, and turn the other way. These have bumpers on them too, but it's only if an obstacle's in the way. Now, it has Lidar navigation, and if whatever's in front of it, a shoe or whatever, is taller than 3 inches, that's the standard height on a robot. Once it gets above 3 inches, then the Lidar can bounce a signal off of it. Now the robot knows there's something here, and it can avoid it. Now the level at which they avoid these things varies dramatically. And I have lots of videos that try to help with obstacle avoidance, but in theory, the more you pay, the better obstacle avoidance you get. Now you're gonna see these. Now, let's say it's off to the side or something, or it's low to the ground, and it activates the bumper, then it will tell the robot, oh, there's something there. It's gonna try to go around it, and the bumper will tell it to go around, but it doesn't use it for navigation. It's got Lidar. Now, you're gonna see all kinds of sensors on the front. Some are super basic, and some have a little bit more sophistication to them. here's where, in the most cases, more money means better obstacle avoidance. So when they have a sensor on the front here, like this one does, they're trying to avoid obstacles that are low to the ground. This is super important. Kids' toys, dog has an accident, a cable that's laying on the ground. These are all things that can just wreak havoc on robots. Now, with that said, I haven't had these things, now other than dog waste, like if your dog throws up, cat has a poop or something, that will pretty much ruin the robot. You can clean it, but that can ruin it. But like cables, kids' toys, these things, I've had a cable wrap all the way around and then you just pull it out and the robot's fine. I've had toys wrap around, I've had long hairs get stuck. So while the robot, you may come home and the robot's stuck in the corner and there's a cable, it typically doesn't damage the robot. Now, I can't say that forever, but I haven't had a problem with that. So what they try to do is they try to add a sensor on the front that's going to help with obstacles that are low to the ground so that the robot will avoid them. Because if there is a toy or an accident, you do want the robot to go around it. It's mainly designed for just, and that leads me into another point, which I should have said. Lidar navigation means they will clean in straight rows. I can't say that for all of them, but the ones I test, if they have Lidar navigation, they clean in nice straight lines. So when you come home and the robot is cleaned, you're going to see nice straight lines. Now, that to me looks pretty cool, but that is the case. And same with mopping. And we can change, the more expensive ones, we can kind of change patterns and have it do different things, but let's just work our way up to that. So this one has an obstacle sensor. This one is super cheap. This sensor is for helping it return to the docking station. So the docking station on like this one, or even this one, you really can't see it, it's a glass window. It has to transmit a signal to say, robot, find me, I'm right here, and then line up and dock. And so you'll see little sensors on the back and on the front. Those on the cheaper ones, those are just sensors to help it go dock. And when they have Lidar navigation, they do an excellent job of docking for the most part. The ones without Lidar navigation can really get out of shape with docking. So then when you upgrade a little bit, so like this is a $320 robot. They put an obstacle avoidance sensor on here. It does okay. Now what I'm learning, they don't tell us a lot about obstacle avoidance. And that's a general theme with robots. And that's pretty much why I'm doing this YouTube channel on robot vacuum cleaners is the information out there is not, it's not good. It's limited. So it took me reviewing robots for a year and a half to realize the sensor on the front, there's a computer inside this robot. Roborock has programmed what a shoe looks like, what a ball looks like, what a cable looks like into this. And the more expensive ones have more detection, means they have more stuff programmed into them. So if this sensor senses a shoe, it will recognize it and kind of avoid it. It will also avoid other things, but it won't recognize it, so then it can struggle with it a little bit. So that's what I'm learning about. They must have a computer chip inside with the pre-programmed obstacles. And again, some of the cheaper ones, even this Roborock Q5 Pro, there's no obstacle avoidance unless the Lidar can sense it or it activates the bumper. Otherwise, it's going to run it over. This does an okay job, and we get more. Now let's get on to the next thing. Physical buttons. I love physical buttons, and I love more than one physical button. Roomba taught me that. The old Roombas had one button, and it did three things, and I never knew which three things it was doing. So, and I love ones that are very self-explanatory. Home button means it's going to go home. Power button means power. You can also start and stop the clean. And I do this all the time. So I may not always want to get my phone out to tell the robot to start cleaning. But if I'm walking by the robot and I'm like, hey, the house is dirty, I can go bing, hit that clean button, and it's going to clean the entire house. Love it. And that leads me to another thing. Lidar navigation means mapping your house. A good user experience means you're going to be able to create schedules. That's I probably should have, there's so many things I should lead with. Lidar, schedule. The number one thing I recommend people do to their robot vacuum cleaner is put it on a schedule. What I have found, and even to this day, when I'm doing my testing, it's harder to remember to go tell it to clean than it is if it's on a schedule. And let's say you have it cleaning your house twice a week. And on that day, you're like, oh, this thing's bothering me. What's it cleaning now for? It's loud. It's in the way. It's easier to go tell it to go home than to say, oh yeah, I need to tell my robot to start cleaning. That's where I come from. So put it on a schedule, even if it's going to bother you that day. I've had it wake the dogs up sometimes, and I'm like, darn it, I wish it hadn't started the schedule. But it's easier to go up and tell it, okay, go home, we're resting, leave us alone, than to remember to tell it to start cleaning. So it's the ones that vacuum, have it vacuum your house twice a week, Again, these do not replace upright vacuum cleaners that plug into a wall. There's no way. These are battery powered. The suction power is small. It's kind of limited in where it is. But the one thing that robot vacuum cleaners have that an upright doesn't is time. An upright vacuum cleaner, I got to be present. I got to have it plugged into a wall, and I got to be using it. These can be cleaning at night. They're a little noisy. While I'm away, multiple times a day. And so they can go back over your carpet. And while they never, even if this thing cleans my house 3 times a day, it's never going to clean it as good as an upright vacuum cleaner. But they can get really, really close. Okay, we've talked about robots that, no. Okay, we've talked about robot vacuum cleaners that vacuum your house. Now you're also going to see a lot that say vacuum and mop. This is where it gets really confusing, and you can start to get back into high levels of frustration. Now, some of the earlier models, they simply took robot vacuum cleaners that were good at vacuuming, and they just stick a mop pad on it and say it mops. While you can save some money, there are some features that I require a robot to have. When you're going to throw a mopping pad on it, it has to have a couple features. And then the more expensive ones just get so much better at this. Now, the cheaper ones, I'm going to be in charge of taking the mop pad off, putting it in my laundry, cleaning it, putting it back on. The more expensive ones are going to clean this for you, dry it, you're ready to go. So we'll get to there. Now, when I say the cheaper ones, even Roborock does this, Roomba, they all do it. They just throw a mopping pad on there, give it a price point that's really, oh, that's a great price point, but then it's going to be lots of frustration. The first thing, carpet sensor. That's the first thing. Now that's a sensor that senses carpet. Very, very big. They will not have that if they're vacuum only, because it's just vacuuming carpet, hardwood floors, the same. In the app, you can tell it to vacuum different suction levels for different rooms. But when a robot has a carpet sensor, this one does not. It's a Roborock. It's highly recommended, but it's got a low price point, but it doesn't have carpet sensor. You're going to see a little sensor. Now they come in different forms. For the most part, I've seen a little circle here with some kind of sensor down there. It's shooting a beam down, and it knows whether this is like hard surface or carpet. And they do a good job. And again, I'm only dealing with the major brands. Some of the off brands, I think they have them too, and I don't do testing on those. So the ones I've tested do a really good job of carpet sensing. And that becomes super important because these robots, unless they can sense where the carpet is, they're going to mop carpet. Now, they get around that by Roborock, like the app. The apps are so good, and they're so good at mapping your house. You can go in the app and say, oh, this is carpet right here. And you draw a line, and you can pinpoint it, and you can get it relatively accurate. But then, oh, the robot's cleaning my house. Oh, it's mopping a little bit. Then you got to go in and readjust where the no mopping zone is or where the carpet is. You're having to manually input on your map in the app where the carpet is. When they have a carpet sensor, you tell the robot to go clean your house during the first cleaning, and it figures out where all your carpet is. You can still fine tune it, but if you have rugs, if you have 4 or 5 rugs in your house and carpet here, carpet there, these are going to be lots of frustration. Carpet sensor is going to eliminate not all of that, but it's a starting point. Now, so what does a carpet sensor do for us? It does 2 things. In the app, it shows us where the carpet is, and then the robot will, since it knows where the carpet is, it's going to automatically avoid the carpet when it has a mopping pad attached. Now, there's also something else some of them can do. When they have a carpet sensor, they can raise and lower the mop pad. That's big, but that requires a motor to raise and lower it. The more expensive ones do this, awesome. We're still working our way up to that line. We're still in the sub $300-400 range. So like this one here, it has a carpet sensor. It can raise and lower the mop pad. Again, when this thing mops my floor, I got to take it off. It's on Velcro, and you'd be surprised how hard some of these robots are, some of the off-brands really, of taking the mop pads on and off and cleaning them. So these are relatively easy that I recommend. So it can raise and lower the mop pad. Now, this one can only raise it like 7 millimeters. A lot of these things are in millimeters. That's not very high. Even the more expensive ones are not super high. So if you got really tall carpet, but they do things, those more expensive ones have programs in, you could have it vacuum first before it mops because you don't want the mop pads wet. The cheaper ones here, you're going to be taking the mop pad on and off to kind of help the robot. Okay, vacuum only. You can see where I'm doing more work to make the robot work. And man, once you can get up to a $400 price point, that's the sweet spot for buying a robot vacuum cleaner. And Amazon Prime Days is the perfect time to buy. Go buy the Mova P10 Pro, $449. I think it's going to be $400. The Roborock QV35A, the Dream L10S Gen 2. That's the price point of less frustration. The robot's going to do more work with me interacting with it less, but you can save money. So carpet sensor does about 2 or 3 things. Lifts the mop pad up and down, avoids carpet, and it shows you where the carpet is in the app, all automatic. Now there's a couple different ways. As we see with the cheaper ones, the mop pad attaches and the robot, it doesn't push the mop pad down. When the robot's going, it's just lightly dragging the mop pad on the hardwood floor. That's only going to clean so well. Again, a little bit more expensive. This one's actually going to push it down, and a little bit more money is water pump. So some of the early Roborocks that I give a big thumbs down to, they use drip. So you have a water tank in here that you're going to fill up with water because this is a mopping robot. It has a water pump, an electric water pump that the battery is battery powered. So it's going to take the water, it's going to spray the water on the mop pad to keep it wet. That is what you want for a good mopping, but that's all extra money. The early Roborocks used wicks. You'd fill a water tank up and the wick would go through and make the mop pad wet, which works, but not that good. But when we get into the $400 price range, water pumps, so much better. Even this one's okay, but it only wets the mop pad in one area. You've got to pre-wet the mop. Again, more work on my part. Those, I don't. I just can't stress enough. The $400 price point is the price point that I highly, highly recommend. The mopping robots are okay under $400 when you got to do the work yourself. But okay, let's work our way up into $400 price range that I absolutely love. These are going to be called all-in-one docking stations. They all do a lot. The more expensive ones do a lot more, but let's start with a basic one. This is highly recommended, Just a Dad approved. You'll find it on justadadapproved.com. The Mova P10 Pro. They sell a Mova P10 and P10 Pro, differences. But anyway, when you see a docking station like this, you're going to have a clean water tank and a dirty water tank. You're going to fill this up in your sink. And then the dirty water tank, you're going to have to empty out. They get kind of stinky, so there's going to be a little bit of maintenance. But when I see this, I'm excited. And they're usually on the top. They're usually really easy to take in and out. You know, it's designed like I'm going to be doing this a lot. So why do we have that? Well, we have a robot Lidar navigation, obstacle avoidance sensor. It's going to do a great job mapping your house. Now we've gone to a little bit different fashion. We've got mop pads that spin. Now there's still some more expensive ones that have flat. That's a whole nother thing I could go into. The cheaper ones use flat, which do a good job, but I do prefer the spinning mop pads. So these mop pads, the robot spins them, okay? And this one has a lot of advanced features. It's got the single brush roller, drive wheels, side brush, carpet sensor, free spinning wheel. This wheel just doesn't do anything. All the direction control is from the wheels, fall off sensors, and a camera on the front. So now we jump up into the cheaper ones. Typically don't have cameras. I don't know any under $400 that have cameras. Now they do make, if you're worried about privacy, they make models with, like, most manufacturers know this, and they're like, oh, we make a Mova P10 without the Pro that doesn't have a camera. We make a Mova P10 Pro that has a camera on the front. Now, you may ask yourself, why do I need a camera on the front? And why would I give access to whoever this manufacturer is, access to pictures in my house, video, whatever? Now, I can't go into that part of it. I don't know that enough. I do know they put stickers on these when I unpack them. They say they're certified, some level of protection of keeping your information local. I don't understand how all that works, but I also know that I follow the news about robot vacuum cleaners a lot, and I haven't seen any news articles that say, oh, all these pictures got released from this manufacturer. Now, there was something from Roomba 4 or 5 years ago, I think, or something. But recently, I haven't seen anything like that. So if you are worried about privacy, they do have ones without cameras on the front. I have lots that have cameras on. Now, keep in mind, if you are in the bathroom, on the toilet, and the robot starts to come into the bathroom, it's going to see your feet as an obstacle, and it's going to take a picture of it. So keep that in mind. It would be nice if the robots gave us privacy zones to say, don't take pictures in this area, but that's not the case. So let's talk about that. This has a camera on the front. Why would I want a camera on the front? It's going to do two things. If it sees an obstacle on the ground and it recognizes it, it's going to take a picture of it. And then in the app, it's going to show you, oh, this is what was my obstacles, and you're going to see pictures of them. That's okay. I kind of like that. The next thing is if you're in another state and you left your house and it's got dogs or whatever, and you're like, oh, did I leave the sink running? You can, from the app, you can tell it to go into the kitchen and turn the camera on and look in the kitchen. You can talk to your dogs, you could talk to somebody. You can completely control this robot to go wherever you want in your house, record, take pictures, whatever. I haven't used that feature. I think I kind of forget about that feature a lot, but that is an option. Does it help with obstacle avoidance? I think it does. I don't know the technology behind it or not, if it does or not, but I think it does. So let's get back to So this has spinning mop pads. It also can move one of the mop pads up against the wall. That's increased technology, increased price, but for the Mova P10, it's not. When you get into the Roborock series, it is. So side brush, and again, this side brush, it can extend into the corner, increased technology, which all these things just kind of work their way up into different models, but carpet sensor, drive wheels. Now, there's going to be two ways of mopping. Now, this has a dust bin like the other ones do, but when this one collects all your dust, it's going to come back to the docking station, and everything gets sucked out of this little trap door right here through this little suction into this dust bag. So the all-in-one station has a dust bag built in that you're going to have to change, which is super easy and doesn't make a big mess. Clean water tank, dirty water tanks. Now, the clean water tank is going to do two things, not on all robots. On all robots, it's going to wash the mop pads. So down here, we have a tray. Well, I can take this one out. Some you can't. But the mop pads are here. The water is going to be directed onto the mop pads to clean them before and after a mopping event. And the second thing, and again, it doesn't do it on all robots. Most robots that I approve of and recommend have internal water tanks that they're going to fill up. So this one has an internal water tank. It gets filled up right here. I love internal water tanks because when it has an internal water tank, then it has a water pump and it's going to spray water on top of these mop pads while they're spinning to keep them wet. Now, in theory, we can talk a little bit about how mop pads are going to work. These mop pads have to capture the dirt off of the floor, okay? And they have to keep it. And then they have to take it back to the base station and get washed off. Now, this robot's going to clean your entire kitchen, and you can vary the amount of time it cleans or by room. It's going to use more water if it cleans more often, but you are going to get a little bit of smearing. If it's a big mess, without a doubt, it's going to capture a bunch of mud, but then it's going to smear it. The more expensive ones are going to counter that by going back and re-cleaning and doing other things. The cheaper ones don't have some technology, which I'm going to talk about. So internal water tanks is what you want. If they don't have internal water tanks, the base station sets the wetness of the mop pad when it cleans it. The mop pads are usually a little bit thicker to hold more water. That way it can go clean. But keep in mind, I don't think those clean as well as robots that have internal water tanks. Because if you've ever mopped, like I do mopping with mops, you want the mop wet. That typically, in my opinion, does better getting the dirt off of the floor and capturing it. So you're going to have some maintenance to these. Most of them they're just held on with Velcro. You are going to have to replace these. You can throw these in your laundry to kind of freshen them up. They're very simple. Now, carpet sensor. It can raise and lower the mop pads. And this is where you get into 10 millimeters, which is a little bit higher, but it's still going to drag them onto the carpet if they're wet. But in the app, and the ones I recommend, there are settings that you could tell it to vacuum your house first before it wets the mop pad. If you don't, it's going to clean the mop pad, get it all nice and wet, and then go clean your house. Now, when it senses carpet, it's going to raise them, but if the carpet's tall, it's going to drag it across. So, and then the more expensive ones can actually detach the mop pads and leave them at the base station and reattach them. They actually worked really, really well. So let's get into the base station now. And these come in all different flavors. More expensive, more things it does. So the very basic ones like the QV35A, which I highly recommend. Very, very basic. The robot doesn't have a mop pad that extends out to the side, doesn't extend the side brush, doesn't have a camera on the front, but does a pretty good job. Now with the Mova P10 Pro, it's got some more advanced sensors. It's going to heat that water, and they all have different temperatures. The more expensive ones try to heat it hotter. I've not noticed that to be that big of a deal. This cheaper Qrevo QV35A doesn't heat the water, so it uses room temperature water to wash the mop pads. Now, this is all going to be automatic. It is the coolest thing in the world. For your robot to be sitting here, the robot's going to spin the mop pad, it's going to push them down onto this. The water is going to be directed down here, and then the base station sucks the water up into the dirty water tank. That's kind of noisy. You hear kind of gurgling and stuff. It's all automatic. And then when it's done, it goes out and mops your floor, comes back, does this process until it runs out of water. You know, it can just keep cleaning and you'll have to fill the water tank up. Now, the more expensive ones will have something called a dirt detection sensor. As that water is being sucked up into the dirty water tank, it's going to pass through a sensor. And if wherever the robot just came from, like if it mopped your kitchen and the dog walked through, there's a big muddy mess. So the mop pad's captured a bunch of dirt. It's coming back to do its cleaning. And now when it's sucking that water up into the dirty water tank, it's going to be dirtier than normal. The base station tells the robot, go back and remop where you just came from. Because guess what? There's going to be some smearing. But now the mop pads are clean. It can capture more dirt. And now hopefully your kitchen's clean. Narwhal does this the best. I don't have a lot of recommendations about Narwhal. The Frio Z I have over there, their dirt detection sensor can tell the robot to go back and remop an area up to 4 times. Uses a lot of water, but my floors are squeaky clean after using a Narwhal because it just keeps going back cleaning, trying to get that dirty water clean. So most of the ones I'm recommending just do it once, which typically is enough unless it's a huge money mess. Now, where we get into issues is the tray. You're going to be doing some maintenance down here. And that kind of leads me into the maintenance on the robots. Now, some maintenance is easier than others. The Q Revo has this all figured out. There's the tray that does all the cleaning. You take this to your sink, clean it, and you throw it back, and you're done. Some of the more expensive ones are trying to put these little wiper blades. They're saying, hey, we're cleaning the dock for you while it's working. As you can see, they work limited. There is in the app, I can tell to put water down here, clean it, and then suck it up. So there will be some maintenance. One of the biggest things when you start getting into, well, with all robot vacuum cleaners, I should have led with this. There's so many firsts that I need to lead with. A robot vacuum cleaner uses airflow. They all have a dust bin. Now, some dust bins auto empty, some don't. They're all going to have a filter. Now, they're all varying different sizes. I recommend buying extra filters for whatever robot you have because this is going to be the #1 thing you're going to be cleaning. This gets dirty the most, the fastest, the quickest. This prevents your robot from, it's going to sound like it's doing a great job, but if this is clogged, it's not vacuuming hardly anything. Airflow has to go through. And so this catches all the dirt and debris so that it ends up in the dustbin. They make these reusable, except for iRobot, which is a whole nother story. You can clean these with water, but they take a little bit to dry. You have to put them in the sun if you want them to dry real fast. So buy an extra one, throw it, just replace it, and then clean yours, let it dry, and then you have one ready to go. Now, you're not going to get a reminder in the app. You're going to get a maintenance reminder to replace that filter every 150 hours, but to clean it is every 2 weeks. I typically don't do mine every 2 weeks, and then it's completely clogged. I'll go down there about every month or every 3 weeks and I clean it. If you want to do it quick, just blow it with a blower, put it back in. If you've got time, wash it with water and put it back in. That's the dust bin filter. You're going to get a notification, most of them, when to replace the mop pads, but you'll see they start to get really flat. You want that kind of fluffy feel. And again, we talked about the sensors, Lidar navigation. There's really nothing to do with the Lidar up there. It's just spinning. Make sure no popcorn seeds get in there or anything. Make sure your bumper's free. And other than the maintenance on the base, that's pretty much it, and replacing the dust bag. And we talked about dirty, when you get into these, this is gonna be the same for all these dirty water tanks. These things smell. The water's dirty, and every time it cleans your house, it only fills it up to about there. You know, and so every time it's adding more dirty water, and it may sit there for a week, 2 weeks, and these things get to stinking. So I do spray some Listerine mouthwash in there. It helps prevent odor. They are starting to come out with these ionizing blocks that I'm testing at home right now that prevent the odor. They're actually working really well. I don't know how they do it, but anything to prevent that odor in the dirty water tank. Now, let's floor cleaning solution. Right now we've talked about clean water. Everybody wants to clean. Now, I used to think, oh, I can't have clean floors unless I'm using some type of cleaning solution. That's not necessarily the case. I think these robots do a great job with just water. I forget if this one, okay, so this one does. Now the Q Revo does not have a solution tank. And some do, some don't. They're kind of all over the place on if they do or they don't. If they don't, you can just add it to the clean water tank. So this one has an onboard solution tank. So you're going to add your concentrated floor clean solution. Now, the manufacturer is only going to recommend their product go in here. I've been testing others. You got to be careful. I'm having a really hard time testing what cleaning products actually work. You don't want to damage, because this cleaning solution is going to get mixed with the water. It's going to clean the mop pads. It's also going to get pushed into the robot. You don't want to clog up any filter or whatever's going on inside there. So what I tell people, if I'm going to use these solution tanks, I'm only going to use Roborock or Eufy or whatever their solution is. If I put water in the cleaning tank, the clean water tank, I'm going to use very little of it. And, you know, just don't use anything that you think would gum up or get real harsh. It doesn't take a whole lot. I'm still figuring that out. And I've been doing robots for 2.5 years. So I'm still figuring out what, other than now the manufacturers sell cleaning solutions to put in there. It can be a little on the expensive side, but you don't use a whole lot of it. Does it help? For me, it's hard to tell. I'm more worried about the water and if it's cleaning. Okay, we're gonna get into some more expensive robots, but first, don't be intimidated by, oh, this is a $1,600 robot. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to set it up or not. The setup is the same as the $300 robot. You get a few more settings, so there's maybe some more things to figure out, but the setup, how to use it, don't be intimidated by the price point. Now, we're going to talk about these in a second because they've got some really cool advanced features. This one's heavily marketed by Shark. It's called the 2-in-1. It's a mopping robot that vacuums. Please stay away from this one. I've had so much frustration. It's the one where you have to change the dustbin that has the mopping pad that you have to install, and now it's a mopping robot. This does not have a carpet sensor. You have to do a carpet verification run. It's very convoluted, very hard. I've had so much frustration with the Shark 2-in-1. They still market it, still sell it. I just need to talk about it. You'll see it has LiDAR navigation. They just threw a mop pad on a decent robot. The Shark app, hopefully in the near future, they're going to be redesigning it. It's a little long in the tooth for me. It's a little old. I really do like the more modern apps. Now, let's get into the Dream X50, the Roborock Q-Revo Curve X, and the Saros 10R. These are expensive robots. Rarely do they go on sale. The Curve right now has a lot of these same features. $1,100, Amazon Prime Days, highly recommended. Dream X50, $1,300. What you're starting to see, these have LiDAR navigation, but they can raise and lower that LiDAR sensor, which is pretty cool. Is it absolutely necessary? The theory is they can clean under your bed more. They can get into lower profile areas. Now that can lead to trouble. They're finding more areas to get stuck in, but you can put a no-go zone there. So generally, I do like that idea. Now, the X50 come out with a new idea of robotic arms for thresholds. So robots will struggle when you have one room here and one room here, not a step, but like a threshold, like something you might trip over, but it's not a step. Almost all robots are going to struggle with that. You can do a couple things. You can put a ramp, but the Dream X50 came out with these robotic arms that it extends and jumps. It can jump over 2.5 inches. It doesn't jump, but it climbs over and then it kind of falls down, but it does it. I've done a lot of testing. So this can go up to different thresholds. Nobody can do it like Dream. Roborock tries, they can lift the chassis in the front a little bit and they try, but not as good as Dream. Now these robots have such advanced features. They do more obstacle avoidance. They have lights, they clean at night. Their docking stations, clean with hot water, dry with hot air. You know, that's all with increased price. Again, the basic one, this $400 QV35A cleans with cold water, dries with room temperature air, which just takes longer. If it uses hot air, it can dry in 2 to 3 hours, where this can take 6 hours. No dirt detection sensor, you know. The Dream L40, L6 or L40, is it $600? That's an absolute love it. So what's the more advanced technology on these? They're starting to do something where they will fill the robot with warm water from the docking station. I think that's kind of gimmicky because the internal water tank isn't heated. So the water is going to cool off really quick. It says it can spray warm water on the mop pads. I'm not sure if that helps a lot or not. But they're going after this really, really thin profile. You got all the advanced features of the camera. You've got the split brush roller. They redesigned the mop pads. Whoops. Yeah, and these can, yeah. The Dream X50 can leave the mop pads back at the base station. That becomes a non-factor for me after, if, like on the curve, I can tell to vacuum first before it mops. So leaving the mop pads back at the base station isn't necessarily that. Okay, let's talk about some of these other robot vacuum cleaners that are extremely popular. Let's first do Shark. Again, I told you about the 2-in-1. They do sell a 2-in-1 that is okay. It's called it's called the Never Touch Power Detect Pro. Now, it has a mop pad. It has a base station that can wash the mop pad. It can leave the mop pad back at the base station, completely redesigned. It does have has 2 carpet sensors. They do okay. It's got a high price point, and these other manufacturers are just doing a lot more with that price. So while this one does an okay job, in my opinion, it's just a little expensive. So, and it comes in white and black, and for some reason the black one is always cheaper. The white one is like $150, $200 more. It comes with some extra pads and stuff, but I don't consider it worth it. They're the exact same model. They do sell one that doesn't wash the mop pad, which I don't recommend. So just had to get this is just so heavily marketed. I can't believe. In my opinion, manufacturers need to discontinue some models. I think it floods the market with too bad experiences. You buy that, you're gonna have a bad experience. Eufy. So I didn't talk a lot about Eufy. Eufy has a unique design that they're doing on some robots called the S1. They got a mop pad. Now this is superior mopping. It lacks in vacuuming, and it doesn't get real close to the sides and stuff where these other ones are just better in my opinion. While no one can mop as good as this because that's a brush roller that's being spun and it's being scraped off the entire time. There's a dirty water tank. So that mop roller is spinning, it's being wet, it's being spun, and then it's being scraped, the dirty water, like a Tangle, or a Shark Mess Master, Hydrovac. So while these do a great job of mopping, their carpet cleaning and other things are just not the best. It's too niche for me. I'm more worried about doing an all-around job. Now they do have an E25 and an E28. Not recommending those right now. I'm having a little bit of problem with it leaks dirty water once in a while. I got to do more testing on that, but they're going to be highly, highly marketed. This one's been a TikTok viral sensation. The Eufy C20 has spinning mop pads. It doesn't have an internal water tank. It has a base station that washes them. It has a vacuum. It does have a carpet sensor. So this actually isn't too bad of a robot. I do recommend it. It does have my Just a Dad sticker seal of approval, but for its price point, I think there's just some better ones out there now. Roomba. Let's talk about Roomba. Okay, let's talk Roomba robot vacuum cleaners. So if you're new to buying a robot vacuum cleaner, you may be very tempted. I'm just going to buy a Roomba. They're the ones, they're the name brand, they're the Kleenex of the industry. While that may be the case with some of the newer ones are okay, they have fallen behind in technology. I do highly recommend Roborock, Dream, Mova, and I've got several that I recommend at justadadapproved.com. But let's get started on iRobot Roomba. I got a lot to say. Early models, stay away from. They look cool. They're heavily, heavily marketed. You see them on a display. Even I get drawn in like, oh, wow, this thing looks really cool. This is old V-Slam technology. It's old. The app is old. I have had so much frustration with the user interface of using the app, the robot. While the robot may do a good job of cleaning, is debatable. Mapping your house is debatable. We're past this, and Roomba's decided we're past it, but they're still selling the old ones. So you may see something that looks like this, J7, J5. It does have a camera on the front. It does an okay job of mapping your house. It's got the double brush roller. It's got it's got this docking station. They dock. They self-empty into a dust bag. While this looks cool, no. And especially the i5. They heavily market this. They say it's a mopping robot. It's laughable, to be my opinion. And they put it with this auto empty base station. They got an i5, an i3. Awful. It uses the technology like your mouse. It's got a trackpad technology where it has to remember where it is. gets lost. And the mopping, this is where I came up with the technology. They just took a robot and threw a mop on the bottom because there's no thought process went into putting a mop on a robot other than just let's stick one on the bottom and put a water tank, because it's awful. So the app doesn't know, it's just awful. I don't want to go into it and dwell on it. I want to show you these to tell you to stay away from these. These are heavily marketed. You're going to see them. They're going to be on Amazon Prime. They're going to be front and foremost. They're going to have the big Roomba name. Buy this. Please, please stay away. I do have setup videos on them, and I do have reviews on them, but please just stay away from them. Now, Roomba has a new lineup called, they've got a 405. They got a couple model numbers. They got a 505. They've got this 105. Now, if you'll notice, the one thing they did is they added the number one thing I said, Lidar navigation. Okay, great. They improved the user experience. They have 2 apps. Old app, no good. New app called the Roomba Home, it's okay. In my opinion, it's not as good as the Roborock Dream, Curve, and things like that, but they're starting to they're more worried about automations, having this thing just work for you, which is fine, but the robots aren't quite there yet. You can see they went to spinning mop pads. They can raise and lower them. They did put a carpet sensor in, so we've got some really cool things. Single brush roller. They don't have any long hair management. This one doesn't move the side brush off to the side. Obstacle avoidance is 0, other than the Lidar, which we talked about. That's just for getting it home to the dock. And again, it doesn't have an internal water tank. This is their cheaper series, their lineup. They got a 105 and a 104. 104 is exclusively on Amazon. They're the exact same. I've got lots of videos on them. This one, the robot, just has a mop pad attached. It's just going to drag it on the floor. They did put a water pump in there, which I was good. Keeps the mop pad nice and wet. And it does know when the mop pad's installed. And it does have a carpet sensor. But the carpet sensor is only to avoid carpet. It's not going to show you where the carpet is on your map, which I prefer that. And it doesn't raise and lower the mop pad. So while these, there is a place, they're going to sell a ton of these just because they're Roomba. There are better brands that you can get. And they have a 505 that's just like this, but it has more obstacle avoidance on the front, which I'll show you in a minute. But again, at least if you do get some of these newer Roombas, your user experience interface is going to be better. But we can do better. Again, I buy these robots with my own money. I can say whatever I want about these robots. You know, Roomba would definitely not want me saying, buy a Roborock over a Roomba. And Dream and Mova. So again, my Mova P10 Pro, you know, this Roomba 405 is $400, and you can get the Roborock QV35A, which is going to do a much better job with more technology than the 405. So that's the point I come from. But if you do buy it, I have the setup video, and you'll see that there's frustration in the setup, which there shouldn't be. I hardly have any frustration setting up these. Yeah, I want to be polite, but it took way too long to set them up, and the app or the update didn't work. You have to do an update. It's just, that's why they're not high on my list. They're not on my board. They're not on my website, just a dad approved. So I started this video trying to help people buy a robot vacuum cleaner. I know we ramped up pretty quick. Let me know what you think of this video. The reason I started these videos was to help people. My early videos were how to put the string in a weed eater, how to fix your coffee maker, how to descale your coffee maker. And I've really, really enjoyed this robot vacuum cleaner journey. I think it's here to stay. These things are evolving super, super quick. I can't keep up. Get lots of recommendations for lots of different robots, but they're going to have to meet us. I can't do all the little spin-offs. I've gotten burned in the past doing some cheap manufacturers buying them, and then they go out of business in the next year. Well, I got to think of who's in this for the long term, and I will get into some new ones if I think they're going to be in the long term. But right now, Roborock, Eufy, Dream, Mova, these are just ones I highlight. And again, on my YouTube channel, it can be very tricky finding things, but go to my website, justadadapproved.com, if you want to see what to buy. I'm the one that's in charge of that website right now, so it's very basic. I'm hoping to improve that in the future. Maybe I can somehow attach the video. I don't really know how to do all of that. I know how to post videos on YouTube, but I've got 6,000 videos on YouTube, so it can be really, really hard to find what video you're looking for. That's why this one is going to be, I think the name of it's going to be Robot Vacuum Cleaner 101 for beginners. I think that's just a great, hopefully I came from that standpoint. I wanted to get very, very simple and slow. I think I speeded up as I went and got into maybe talking about stuff that I do apologize, and maybe I need to do it in steps, but I want to help people that are new to robot vacuum cleaners. Some of my videos are maybe geared towards people that are like, what's this one about? You know, I already know robots, just what's the newest technology on this one? So I always want to come from a standpoint of helping you, even if you're the very, very beginning of a robot vacuum cleaner. And if you look at my setup videos, they can be long, but it is taking it out of the box. It's putting it all together. It's connecting it to the app. It's whatever problem I run into, I show it. You're probably going to run into the same problem too. So that is the whole point behind my videos, is to help people. And I couldn't do that without your support. And a great way to support me is I do have my own coffee brand, Just a Dad Coffee. It's going to be on my website, or you can find it at justadadcoffee.com. It's called Just a Dad Simple Sip. This comes from when I used to review coffee makers. I've got probably 1,000 videos on coffee makers. Got really, really focused on that, and then we changed gears. So again, Just a Dad Coffee. I've sold it in the K-Cup form, whole bean, and the already ground. It's a medium to dark roast. So I think it's just a very simple flavor, very neutral. Also, my Just a Dad approved website, justadad.com, or justadadapproved.com. And on there, it'll have product links where if you click on it, it takes you to Amazon. If you end up purchasing the product on Amazon, I get a small commission from the sale. Again, in my video description, there may be a pop-up in the video. You may see a pop-up that'll take you to maybe the Roborock website or to Walmart or to Amazon, but not Amazon, but Amazon links are in the description. Any of those things are links that help me. Again, I buy these with my own money, but the way I make money is with those links. If you purchase the product using that link, I get a really small commission from the sale of that product, but it does help when, you know, like the Mova P10 Pro, I highly recommended it. And I think they sold a bunch of them on Amazon. I'll be able to get a nice size commission from that. So I just really, really do appreciate everybody's support. But here's the thing with commissions. If you send that back, I don't get paid the commission till 60 days. So you've got 30 days to use it. And then, you know, because you get that 30-day return policy. So if you end up returning it, I don't get the commission from it. I'm not going to recommend something that I think you're going to return. I'm here to help you. I'm going to recommend something that I think you're going to like, you're going to use, and you're not going to return. I've returned plenty of robots in my time. And I get that question a lot. What do I do with all these robots? Well, I make videos like this, and I couldn't make videos like this unless I had the robots. I've even had to buy some robots that I've given away or sold. I've kind of stopped doing that just because they still sell the old ones, and they'll sell a new one, but then they'll heavily discount the old one, and I got to compare them. So don't typically, but it is becoming a problem of what to do with. I've come up with these carts. I got a room that I put the carts in, but again, I am still buying the new ones. And there's the Mova V50 that just came out, the Mova or the Dream L50. I do have the Roborock with an arm. It's just too early to include it in this video. It's fun. It's $2,600, but it's on sale for $2,000, but it's just generation 1. Now that's the future. This Gen 1, it's just fun. I did buy it with my own money. Would I spend $2,000 on a robot with a robotic arm? No. Nope, it's not there yet, Gen 1. So, but I did buy it to tell people. It's not a buy, but they are improving it. So if you do buy it, here's what it does. Again, justadadapproved.com. It's evolving. I'm trying to come. I know people want quick, and then this list too good to pass up. I've got the big list. I got the small list. I got a shorter video on just the Amazon Prime deals. I got 2 videos. The Roborock is just here to stay. I'm excited. I'm going to try to contact them. I want a factory tour, and maybe with Mova and Dream also. I want to see where these things are made. So They haven't reached out to me or anything, but again, that just sounds really, really fun. But they're just, being in this industry, I'm hyper focused right now on robot vacuum cleaners, and I can just tell who the players are. You know, Eufy, Dream, Mova, and just Roborock seems to be at the top. I know Ecovacs is in there. I've bought a lot of Ecovacs. I just only have so much in my budget, so I don't buy a lot of Ecovacs. I have bought some. I've sent some back. For me, the user experience isn't on par with these others. So then I'm like, the robot may have the features that these all have, but for me, the user experience just is a little off. And sometimes the robot cleaning is just a little off. So, but they're number 2 as far as the world. Roborock's number 1, Ecovacs is number 2. So I do need to start reviewing them some more. Again, I really appreciate everybody's support. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Check out justadadapproved.com. I have another video, Just a Dad Prime Day deals. It'll be short, quick, just explain these real quick. But this video was to explain in great detail how to buy a robot vacuum cleaner. I hope I accomplished that. Let me know what you think of this video. I want to improve it. I want to do it again, possibly, so that I, again, help. And remembering how I was at day 1 with a robot vacuum cleaner is kind of hard because I've reviewed so many, but it's very critical because I do remember what it was like buying a robot for the first time. And I remember I was confused, and that's where I draw my energy from is, oh, this market's confusing. And the first year that I was in robot vacuum cleaners, it was still confusing. So I'm like, oh, wow, this thing's still confusing after a year. That means it's super confusing. It's starting to become clearer now. That's why I'm able to come up with these charts, these quick lists. You know, I can't give you 1,000 reasons why it's just in my head. I know that's a really good robot. I've done the testing. It's just a buy. So, but I got to remember, I got to be able to explain these things. So that's why I got to remember to come from that very standpoint. And I'm just rambling. I'm sorry. I need to learn to know when to quit. But I just enjoy my channel so much. I enjoy talking to you. I enjoy seeing the comments that people leave. So again, I just want to help you. Let me know how I can help you more in the future. This is our YouTube channel. Right now, I'm hyper-focused on robots, but I think I don't want somebody spending $1,000 when they can get a piece of junk. They could spend $400 and get just as good as a robot. That saves you money. That just helps me immensely knowing that I was able to help you. So again, if you could, please like and subscribe and check out justadadapproved.com. And thanks for watching.